For anyone joining right now, I have in the past 6 weeks gone through a coaching program for B.A.N.K, which is a personality, which is a communication methodology based on personality science. And I have met amazing people. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the comment. Been going through this program and have met amazing people, and I am going to bring them on out here in a few seconds so you guys can all meet them as well. And we're basically just going to be talking about like the amazing things that have happened for us in the past few weeks, and what this program has done for us. Now we have all been working to become certified coaches so that we can actually turn around and teach this course as well. So if you guys want any information, put the questions, comments, or if you want to know more about it, put it in the comments section, and I'll make sure that everyone gets that information. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on everybody, see if they're all ready here. And there we go. Here is my lovely partner, Everett Vass. And we have Yvonne Silver and Nasira. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jules.
How are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for
inviting me. All right, hold on. I cannot hear you all, so let me just make sure that the sound is good. There we go. And can you all hear me okay? Yes.
Perfect.
But I cannot hear you. So let me see what is going on.
Loud and clear.
Hold on.
Shall I sing a little song for you? Will that help?
You know, speakers on would help, wouldn't it? I forgot I lost power. Can you all hear me okay? I lost power earlier, and apparently speakers don't turn themselves back on. So hi, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got some people joining us here, so we can take our time, but we can start by actually introducing ourselves here. Hold on, I think we've got Yvonne is frozen here. Give me 1 second. Let me bring her back on in one moment.
We're going to have to bring back the thunder from down under.
Yes. 1 second. Let me see if she is back. Yeah, she'll pop back in as we go here. So let's start with Nasira. You can go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and let everyone know what we're working on.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is such a great opportunity because it's very exciting what we've just come out of in terms of getting certified in this methodology. And for me, I hold two things very near and dear to my heart. I'm a realtor in Toronto, north of Toronto, and applying the methodology in my business. And now I've put in a coaching component so that I can help others, get into the whole idea of communicating more effectively, more powerfully, using this methodology and supercharge not just their business, but even their life in terms of relationships. So that's what I found to be really empowering about this, is that it's a whole, it addresses sort of the whole person in terms of life and relationships and business, because that's optimizing everything in your life rather than just the one side of the wheel, right? So that's why I'm really excited. I can't wait to get this thing started.
Right? Yeah, we all love it, and especially for realtors. Like, this is such a great system for it as well. I mean, because it's all about communication and sales and why people buy. Oh, here, hold on 1 second before I continue. Let me bring Yvonne back in. Hello, Yvonne. Welcome back.
There she is.
I forgot I was supposed to be on Chrome.
That is quite all right. Yvonne was Nasira was just explaining how she's going to be incorporating this into real estate and what she's been working on. And we'll dive more into detail, obviously, for all of us as to what we're doing and how this has really changed us and in general, right? And specifically like how we're going to be incorporating it. So Yvonne, you're welcome to introduce yourself and tell us like, yeah, who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Yvonne Silver. I live here in Calgary, Canada, and my mission overall is to help women flourish in business. So I do that through a number of different modalities, and this program is a great fit because my focus is on communications, helping women have more confident conversations. So I was excited to join.
And just in general, the world right now, like it doesn't matter, I think, who you are, like communication is so important and lacking in a lot of areas and a lot of conversations, right? And for those of you who weren't with me last week, Everett, if you want to introduce yourself, you guys are going to be seeing a lot of Everett. Everett is my coaching partner here, so we're going to be teaching some classes together. So he's going to be on all sorts of videos with me, whether he wants to or not.
Thank you. No, I'm very blessed to have you as my partner, and I'm just so thrilled at the opportunity that we have. I came to B.A.N.K looking for a complementary modality, essentially to sort of level up quickly in terms of establishing relationship and establishing trust, because I had chosen to take a career path, a shift in my career path to be a health and wellness coach. After 30 years in enterprise software sales, I decided to pursue my true calling, which is really connecting and helping people, connecting with people and helping them. So I've used this now to, in my practice, to help basically establish relationship, connection, but also a framework, and we'll get into it, but sort of a more rigorous framework of how to how to help people help themselves.
Right. Yeah, that's been the beautiful part. And you know what I love about this coaching program too, that I just had a conversation with one of my clients, like the structure of it was done so well, right? So like it was not only, so for those of you who don't know, B.A.N.K is based on personality science, right? So there's different personality types, and it's a matter of learning how to communicate with each of those personality types. And that's what I thought I signed up for, right? Because I've always been a good communicator, and I've been searching for the past year for a way to hone that skill, right? The ability to connect with people. And in finding this program, which I was so excited, I was like, yes, this is the answer. And not only did it teach me how to hone that skill, but it was so much more, right? And the way that it was built, it was like the perfect like crescendo to like the whole picture, and how to structure your business, like your purpose, your vision, all of that. And I know I found clarity in my purpose and vision. And I'm wondering if that has happened for you all as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah.
So now, I guess we should ask more. So how did it help clarify that? So is it something that you guys all knew going into this program, like what you were doing, and this just helped like clarify your message? Or was it more of a self-discovery, and then now you know exactly which direction you want to go?
I think for me, Julie, if I look at the assessments, we did an assessment before, and then we did an assessment afterwards on each of the 6 intelligence areas. So for me, the biggest uptick was in the personality intelligence, because B.A.N.K was new to me. Looking at, I've worked with a number of different personality assessments, all based on psychology in the past, and I'm certified in emotional intelligence, so I kind of came in with that in my bag already. But then the artificial intelligence piece blew me away, and I didn't score as high as I thought I would on business intelligence, because it's looking through the lens of B.A.N.K and then tapping in and using B.A.N.K to really build out your client avatar, which was obviously a new experience and extremely valuable.
Right. Yeah, that was my biggest aha as well, was the business intelligence, because I realized that I was not running my business in any sort of way that made real long-term sense, right? It was more of like reactive business is what I was doing. Nasira, I see nodding too. So business intelligence was a big one for you as well.
It was a big one because for me, as my real estate business was there, I was looking to sort of serve more of what was my calling. And I know that I am supposed to be coaching, teaching, something in that way of helping others reach their optimal sort of potential. And although real estate, there is a very good component of this methodology being applied, but for me was that it was understanding from the business intelligence who that avatar is that I'm really connected to, and figuring that out, because this is a second leg to what I really want to do, which is to coach others and get them to be more successful, to have better relationships, to have more sales. You know, if they're doing, for me, it's women entrepreneurs, and I figured that out in this journey of who I really want to target. So
I love it. Now, did you and Yvonne work together during the coaching program?
No, but she did interview me while we were in the coaching.
You guys are on the same path here.
Yes.
I remember seeing you on Yvonne's show. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And I think that's the other beautiful thing that happened is when you're in a group coaching session like this, you make these friendships and relationships, and you get to network with people that are, you know, I call them unstoppable. You know, they have a vision, they have a passion, they're very connected to what they want to do, and sort of that whole purpose of, you know, serving mankind or the human race, as Sherry says, right? It's about sort of sharing that and creating a one world, one language kind of thing. So I think this network that we've created is far more valuable, right, than we could have ever imagined.
100%. It's all in like who you surround yourself with. Everett and I were talking about that this morning. You know, like just that this group of people that we all are, we're all part of the same family now. So we're all in the same path. We're all in the same mission, and it's beautiful to see people connected in such an unconnected world. And just knowing the impact that we can make to people, it's phenomenal. So for those of you tuning in, we are talking about our coaching program that we just went through in the last 6 weeks, and it's been a phenomenal experience for all of us. And we're just talking about like how it's actually impacted us. A lot of it was unexpected in a sense, right? We went into to learn a new tool to use in our business, and instead, I can't speak for everyone, but I know it's definitely changed me, and I think everyone else as well. And Everett, what's been your favorite part of all this?
Well, as I mentioned, I came to this with a sales background, so the sales intelligence was something that I thought, you know, I would already, you know, I'd already be knowledgeable enough, but I learned so much just in that, as well as the business intelligence. I at one point I used to sell business intelligence software, so I thought I knew that market fairly well. But there again, I learned so much, and but what it really did for me is understanding again in terms of your purpose and your mission. It gave me confidence, more confidence, because I was going into, you know, I'm going into coaching, and I thought, well, who am I going to coach? Who's my ideal sort of client? You know, who do I think I have the greatest ability to help? And this helped me go through the process of refining that, who my target market is, who my ideal avatar would be, and it gave me greater confidence in knowing that yes, this is who my market is. I don't need to cover the entire, you know, possible range of clients. As if I focus on these particular individuals with these particular needs that I know I can help with, that's really my ideal client right there. So that helped me a lot, and just in sort of gaining that confidence.
Yeah. Now, Yvonne, you've been in the coaching realm for a while. Did that part of it help you restructure, or you kind of had that set from the beginning about like your perfect avatar and your ideal client?
I thought I was pretty dialed in on that because, I mean, I teach women to flourish in business, and I have my own Flourish program, which is all about, you know, visualizing, monetizing, and then optimizing. And yet, because we're looking at everything through the lens of these 4 different personality types, it added another layer on top. so yes, I could still, look at my ideal female client and say, they're this age and they're doing this and they're having these kinds of challenges, or they're wanting to do these kind of things. But it was nice to add on the extra piece. And here's how I can reach them more effectively to even open the door for conversation, because a lot of times it is through referral, which is great. And if you're an action-oriented person, you probably have a lot of other action-oriented people in your world. That's who you're attracted to. And
Right.
so for me, being an NAKB, a nurturer first, I'm surrounded by lots of nurturers, and a lot of times nurturers have a different perspective on business because they are more spiritually connected, and so sometimes the money is not as important to that group.
Right.
So it's been really interesting and insightful.
Right.
It
Now,
might be helpful at this point, Julie, to talk about what the bank codes are, so that what are those codes that we have next to our names?
Right. Oh, yeah. So that's what all of these lovely symbols next to us is explaining what our bank code is. So the personality types are blueprints, action, nurturer, and knowledge. And the concept of bank is that we are a part of all four codes. Perfect. Yvonne's got the cards set up. The purpose is that we're a combination of all codes, right? So this is the way that it works is imagine you, we all have different values, right? So depending on what your core values are, you take in information and you communicate information in different ways. So a blueprint will like systems and processes and rules and risk-free and very strict and very structured. As you see, none of us are blueprint first. We all have a very high like nurturer. So an action person is the one who always wants to be on the go, opportunity, flexibility, wants the best of the best. They're usually, yeah, exactly, jumping from one to the next. And then nurturers are the ones that just want to help everybody, and they're going to hug you, and they're going to do everything in their power to, make your day better. And we care about community and relationships, and the ones that will sit there and listen to you telling the life story, and then the knowledge, which likes the facts and all of the research and development and science and the logical explanations to things. And so if you look at that, and as I'm talking about all of these different personalities, in your mind, hopefully you thought of like, oh yeah, I know someone that's like that. I know someone that's like that. Like I know my sister, very blueprint. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, yes, 100% she's blueprint. And then nurture, if I could just hug people for a living, I would be like the happiest person in the world. It's not very profitable, but it would be great. So based off that knowledge, this whole system is structured about looking at every aspect of your life, your communication, your business, and looking at like each person. If I care about the greater impact, if someone sells me something or influences me or tries to convince me of something, it's going to take a different approach than someone who is about systems and processes and rules, right? And so the elite salespeople in the world and the people that are very connected to other people, we tend to have like an intuition, and you're able to kind of customize your approach by picking up cues and things that we've learned like through our lives and interpretations and actions, right? But that's not for everyone. And even for people that are more in tune, I know like it's done so much for me, and just being able to understand other people and kind of like step into their shoes, right?
Yeah, and that composition that makes up each bank code is unique and individual. And it's also, what I found interesting is that there's a dark side to it too. There's positive attributes, but there's also some negative attributes, and I was able to sort of reconcile how those negatives come into how I react and sometimes how I communicate and so forth. And that is really, I think that was a very valuable lesson for me.
Right.
Well, I noticed that both of you that got paired up as accountability partners, you're both NKABs. So
yes.
with the third letter being A, that's the letter that when we get stressed, we tend to default to. So in my case, it's knowledge. And I know that when I'm stressed about stuff, I got to go learn something.
Right, you go in research mode.
I got to research before I make a decision.
Yeah.
Whereas for both of you, it probably is the opposite. You need to get going on something.
Right. We do something. Because you know what happens is because we're nurture knowledge, we get stuck in the thinking, right? We want to help somebody, but it has to make sense, right? It has to be logical. So, and it has to be accurate. And so we get stuck in that research mode early on. And it's almost like at that point where there's that stress and pressure, then we're like, okay, we're just gonna help. It's gonna work out. It's gonna be fine. But it's the whole process to get there, right? Now, Nasira, yours is blueprints. So you're stressed. Like, have you noticed that in yourself as well? Like when your stress level is, you go straight to like, it needs to be structured, organized.
Yep. That's exactly. And I think that's what happened is as doing all of these assessments and going through the intelligences, to really understand why under stress I was doing certain things which were out of my character, which was really, where I was feeling like I'm generally high A, very high A, but under stress, it's all about the structure. It's all about getting that, the strategy, the list down, and then just, basically crossing it all off as I'm doing it. And that actually brings my stress way back down again, so I can go back to action and be like that really, spontaneous person that I love being, right? So It was, what was really good was understanding why I was flipping into these things. Before, I had no idea, and that in itself was stressful, right? Because I was like, I'm so stressed out, and I don't know why I'm doing all these things. But now it makes sense. And so that's been a game changer. So even when I know I'm going into stress mode, I know where the blueprint's coming up. I can feel it.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. We know which ones to pull in and when. So this leads into a lot of the part of the coaching program was a lot of self-reflection, which I found immensely valuable, right? We had to look at our results, our accountability, our behaviors, and to be brutally honest with ourselves. And I think there was more growth in that part of it, like looking at it through the B.A.N.K lens and like the different personalities and our code, how we function. What was your biggest obstacles that you guys overcame, like with all this self-reflection? Go ahead, Everett.
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first because it was such a revelation for me, because over the course of my lifetime, I've known, the joy that I have inside of me to nurture and to connect with people. And I didn't value it as much as my intellect. So my intellect, my mind, and my heart were at odds oftentimes. And now I'm learning how to reconcile that and value them equally, because they are equally important in terms of how I interact with people. And the irony of my life, I felt, is that there is this need for connection, but as a high K, I'm also somewhat critical and can be judgmental. And so the two, reconciling the two have been elusive to me over the course of my career and my lifetime. So, but now I'm more aware of that. I'm conscious of it. I can help, bring the two together and produce the best, produce the best me I can be to help others be the best they can be.
Right.
It's interesting listening to you talking about the IT world before, because I spent 15 years in senior HR roles, and I interviewed and hired about 6,000.
Oh, we may have.
You're winking out, Yvonne.
Hopefully she'll come back. We'll give her a second.
What a shame. Okay.
All right. Hopefully she'll
hold that thought.
Yeah. Yes, she will. Hopefully she'll be back here in a second. And Nasira, while we're waiting for Yvonne to come back, what were your the biggest obstacles that you overcame with all the self-reflection?
I think the obstacles that I came, so because my real estate business is operational, I think the obstacle was that I had to understand my clients, right? And so it was about putting the methodology in place. And the obstacle was more about just kind of going over that fear of the unknown, right? Because I was learning it and I'm in action. Remember that. So I want quick results. I want it now. I want it yesterday, and I want it to work, right? So for me, the obstacle was to kind of back up a little bit and say, it's okay. Like, it doesn't have to work this hour, right? Figuring it out and taking the time to learn it and being more optimized in it was a big thing for me, because I had even mentioned it in the group that I just want this to all just work and be done with it, you know?
Right.
But it was me pulling back,
Right.
going to learn it, because my K is really low, like it's very low.
Yeah.
So my need for that fast action is where my struggle was.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And how about you, Julie? What were some of the things that you, the ahas that you got out of it?
Just understanding myself more and knowing that like my NK combination is more in the fact that I like to help people in a sense where I teach them how to fish instead of giving them the fish, right? So I don't just do for people. I want to like help them grow along the process. I've always been like a natural teacher. I remember years ago in an interview for a management position, a gentleman was like, have you ever been a teacher? Because, you know, you have that mentality. And I do, because I always care more about everyone around me more than myself. So I did realize that. And then on top of that is that I just realized that connecting with people, like, that is my strength, right? So I've been working this business and I'm a freelance marketer, assistant. I do all sorts of tasks for people, and I've kind of just been reactive with my business. And I realized that relationships, like that is my currency. I know it's so cliche because we learned about that's like one of our values as a nurturer, but that is truly where I shine, right? I can walk into a room and I can be friends with a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old, and that's okay. And I can hone that. And now the beautiful part is I could teach it. So instead of just telling someone like, hey, this is what you do because I just know it and it feels right, now I can explain it and go into full detail. So I've definitely grown confidence in myself, totally stepped into my truth, and it is a beautiful place to be. And I used to think that was such a tacky saying, like, step into your truth. Okay. But now I'm like, no, it's so real. And it's put me on such a different playing field, and it's beautiful. And this program is absolutely priceless. And I can't wait to share it with the world.
Yeah. And that's what I think is, because intuitively you've known that all along, but now we've got a very practical, very, I wouldn't say formalized, but at least more of a rigorous approach to follow, rather than just sort of relying on our own sort of emotional, intuitive side. It gives it much more structure and much more, credibility for others that are not necessarily like us.
Exactly.
And the idea, about it also that we can measure, the whole assessment of it all, and it being measurable is a huge component, right? In terms of taking a coaching program. I don't know about you guys, I've taken many over the years, and I've not had any one of them have a tool at the end where I could see how much has the needle moved. And so I think that really gave it a big thing for me, is to be able to give that to my clients now so that they can see the results they're having in a measurable way.
Yeah, that was beautiful. We were going to have Glenn on tonight, and I know he put up like such a great graph the other day, that like just the visual bar graph of like where he started and where he ended, and that growth in just a 6-week period of time is phenomenal. And yeah, it's amazing to be able to actually track that and have that amazing and have that in your just knowing it, because then our confidence automatically grows up, Yeah. You've gotten better than where you started, so you can only get better from there.
Absolutely.
This is funny, by the way. I just want to point out, I believe that, Nasira, you're in Canada, correct?
That's right.
So I'm originally from Canada. We've never really gotten a chance to speak. And Everett you weren't born in Canada, but you lived there for a while.
Nasira will know exactly where I was born. I was born in Don Mills, a suburb of Toronto. Yeah, but I lived there just for 2 years when I was very young, and then we moved to the States. So, Yeah.
Well, I did live in the States, just so you guys know. I don't think you know that about me, but for about 2 years, I was in DC and worked at the Children's Hospital. Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love DC. My brother lives there now. It's an amazing city.
Yeah.
Town, DC district, not the city. Sorry. Seems like that. So
Yeah.
I guess we may have officially lost Yvonne, but hopefully she pops back in here. But what would you say has been, I guess it kind of ties into our last one, but like our personal growth, like what, maybe more specifically, what in this coaching program has led to the most personal growth?
I mean, I've always been, I believe, sensitive, but now I think I'm just more aware. I'm more conscious, and I'm more in tune. I'm also a musician and a linguist, so being able to speak the other person's language, and being in tune with how their values operate, and what would be the best way to communicate, what would be the most acceptable, I guess, way, or what would resonate the best with people, is really important in my business, previously and currently. So I think that's been a very valuable skill to have, really enforced in me, that you have to understand where the person is coming from, because I had been guilty in the past, of course, of always, thinking about what I was going to say next, not necessarily listening to the other person. So I'm much more in tune with the other person, with what they're saying, how they communicate, so that I can communicate back to them in the way that's most comfortable and acceptable to them.
Right. And
Yeah.
Nasira, what was your?
Yeah, I have to agree. Like that was a huge learning for me, but also I think from the spiritual intelligence side, to actually feel aligned. I felt so much better knowing what I needed to know to take the next step in terms of, how I wanted to show up for the world and be that person that has a purpose, but also that, learning it from the other side of helping the client get to that point. But to be aligned with that was very powerful for me. Like at the last week, I was really moved to tears because it really brought things together. All of the whole 6 weeks were brought together at that end, and it was profound.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was.
Process
That was kind
of
of the culmination. That's the culmination of it all for us. Yeah.
Right.
It was.
Yeah, it was definitely the perfect ending for a lot of it. For those of you tuning in, we're still talking about our coaching program here, the B.A.N.K coaching program, which is based off of our communication methodology based in personality science. That is getting so much easier to say.
It's rolling up.
It is. And the beautiful part about this whole program is it looks at, we're talking about it here kind of in general, but it helps you just speak to people differently. So to give you a little example, for example, I'm high nurturer, so I'm very, very focused on emotion and helping and a lot of emotion. And my son, who's 15, is high knowledge. Now, he's always been very smart. He's always been very intuitive and very detailed and very big into science. But before I understood B.A.N.K, I didn't really put the pieces together, right? And so when we communicate, I communicate all in emotion. And it's like a brick wall. Like a lot of parents, I'm sure, are feeling. And, I never could understand, no matter how I communicated, but I was communicating in the way that I would be communicated to. So I was talking as a nurturer and hoping to just feel him and to, make him feel into understanding me. And I realized with B.A.N.K as a knowledge, he has to come to those decisions himself. If I present the facts, and he's able to analyze those facts and look at them and even research further into whatever I'm suggesting or trying to talk him into doing. And if he's able to come to that decision himself, then he will. And it's that much more of a frictionless relationship, which has been absolutely beautiful And I've noticed little things like that now all the time. My best friend is very blueprint, which is crazy because I'm like opposite. I'm my blueprint. If it could be non-existent, it would be, but it's very low. And so he's very tradition and rules, and and we always bump heads because I'm always late for things. I'm always rushing. I always try to pack too many things in a little bit of time that I have. And he'd always be rushing me. So we always like butted heads with that. And now I realize like, oh, for him, like 15 minutes early is on time, right? Not like 5 o'clock on the dot. It's like being early is on time because he's like those rules and restrictions. So like the littlest tweaks like that have made such a difference, and I'm able to like speak to it like that. Do you guys have any examples of things that you've noticed in people around you?
Well, I do. So when I first, I just was introduced to B.A.N.K just, like 2 months ago, right? As we started this. So I was doing something where it said, just sort of guess who your partner is, like in terms of a code. So I did that with my husband, and I'm like, we are so alike. Like we are two peas in a pod, right? And then when I actually got him to crack his code, he's the exact opposite of my code. So he's came first. And now it makes so much more sense to me because he researches everything. He has to look at all the reviews on Amazon before he'll order something. For me, it's just like, I like the look of that. That looks great. Order that, right?
Right.
All of the reviews and comes up with data. But now I get it. And so I want something. I'll just say, this is what I want or I need. And then he has to go do his research part. And he'll come back with a report that says, this is the best one. And then all I have to do is say, pay for it, right? Like I'm done. So it's really a harmonious relationship where now I understand why he does that. Where before I was getting frustrated saying, good God, do we have to read 200 reviews? Like, does it really matter?
Make a decision.
Just make a decision. Just whatever, we'll do it. And if it doesn't work out, okay, well then we'll figure that out then too, right? But now it's just harmonious. Like I get it. And I'm totally cool with it. So
right, and now you know to expect it as well, right?
Yes.
And you can even like feed into it, and you could even ask him to research things for you now, and you know that
I do. Oh yeah, exactly. I give him a list, and I'm like, okay, I need to get all of this done, right? So it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So it's funny that he was a complete opposite, and generally opposites attract. So that kind of makes sense, right? So
right. I love that. Everett, how about you? Anyone in your circle?
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed, and it was quite interesting, when I asked people to crack their code, basically to take the personality test that gives you the order of your preference, I projected onto other people much more nurturing attributes than there were in actual fact. I mean, some people that I thought were more nurturing were actually, more blueprint. And I came to the conclusion, and this is something that I raised with Jason in one of our original talks, was that is the fact that you are a particular code, is that flexible based on circumstances? And because in a couple of occasions, the people that I thought were more nurturing who were B.A.N.K, I wondered if they were just reacting to the situation where we need more, we don't have certainty. We want more certainty. We want more structure. Were they sort of projecting that into their results that they were getting? So that was an interesting observation, because your values, unlike, certain attributes, I guess, of your personality, these are based on your values, and they may shift, given circumstances over time. I mean, we definitely have certain predilections or predispositions in terms of our behavior and certain motivations that drive us, but we can also be flexible to a certain extent when it comes to our values. That was an interesting observation for me.
Yeah, I think that definitely depends on where you are in life. I feel though, like someone mentioned this to me when they were taking when they were organizing the cards, right? For anyone joining us here, there's a different card here. Get my camera ready. It's backwards. You're not gonna be able to read it anyway. But
no, we can read it. We can read it fine. Yeah.
So blueprint, and you've got different values for each code. And the idea is that you would go through and you could read all of these different values, and then you put the cards in order of importance to you. And someone had mentioned, well, of course, like a lot of the words a lot of the words on the different cards mean a lot to me, right? So how am I going to choose? But that's the thing, is that you're picking in the order of importance. So I feel like the more values on a card that resonate with you is where where you tend to go, right? In the direction that what your core is. But yeah, an extreme situation, extreme stress, like especially in the beginning of this whole quarantine, we were all kind of, up in arms and no one knew what was going on. So I'm sure a lot more people were focusing on their structure too. So it's definitely interesting to see like the different possibilities of combinations.
Right.
I know my middle two codes switch. So my knowledge and my action are actually very close in score, right? So they do tend to go back and forth depending on the situation. So sometimes I am more action first than knowledge. And it all depends on the circumstances. But in this whole process, knowledge has definitely been above action since we've been in kind of learning mode and all of these.
But I'm also finding that it's the stage, the stage of life that I'm at, whereas before, perhaps when I was younger and earlier in my career, I was much more action oriented because that's what was expected as well.
Right.
Now I can be more reflective, and but I appreciate the skills for both of them. And on the subject of skills, one of the things that this really opened my eyes to, because I was thinking as a coach that I would be more sort of focused one-on-one, and which was not terribly scalable. But now I think this experience has shown me that you can have, group sessions, be in group community, and the fact that of being able to lead people through that as a group. There's so much value in bringing people together, as long as they're willing, to share and so forth. And there's nothing really embarrassing about this. We're all just human beings, on this journey together, trying to help each other, to find the way home.
Right.
So this is really, helpful to have it as a group experience, and which means that it just kind of magnifies the possibilities for me as well, business-wise and personally.
Yeah, it's such a safe space too, because you realize very quickly that we're all going through the same thing in different ways, right? We've all got the struggles and the blocks and the obstacles and the confidence that we lacked in the beginning, and the different parts of our lives that you think like, we keep to ourselves because of judgment and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we are all going through the same, and it's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
And more so now than ever, right? Like with the struggles of the globally and all the things that we're seeing, right? That is really allowing people to see that, for one, we're just all in this together, and we're all going through it together. So nobody sort of, in our coaching program, like we all felt like we could support each other depending on what our fellow classmates were going through or what we could offer in terms of support. And you felt a solidarity there, right? That was very uplifting. During a time when things are really stressful out there. And so I think that was a bonus in terms of being in a group.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we definitely all picked the perfect time to go through this program too, right? Instead of all sitting in our rooms, like, what are we doing now? Corona coma, as I keep calling it. We went through this amazing coaching program in exchange for that. And the communication too. So, of course, going through a program about personality types and communication, we were all very conscious of our communication and how we, showed up for all the conversations that happen and for everyone else. And I think that has helped bring us even closer together, right? Because we all know that the empathy is definitely there. Emotional intelligence has definitely been raised in all avenues, and especially for ourselves, right? Because we went through this journey together and have experienced that. And I really want to expand my vocabulary, because I keep saying it's beautiful and it's amazing because I'm such a nurturer, and that's what I want to say. But I've got to find different ways to describe it. But
as a nurturer, I just want to touch on one point that you said earlier, is that as nurturers, we naturally sort of put others first. And one thing that this is really, I've learned and has taught me is that what's at least equally important is to self-nurture, to take, to be concerned about myself in order to be, again, to help others. But ultimately, I've got to put my oxygen mask on first,
Yeah, you can't pour from
to help others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So
and I think the other side of this is, stepping into leadership, and I know like it is an amazing, beautiful experience. I have a lot of nurturing in me too, but I think in terms of looking at it from a perspective of, being inspired leaders and helping others get to that place so that we can create a world that has more of this emotional intelligence, which I believe is what is needed right now, is to elevate everybody. So I think that leadership component is huge to go through something like this and become more powerful within yourself to deliver something that's going to help others.
Right. And be given the tools to be able to spread that message in a way where other people can understand it, because now based on what we know about the different people and how we're able to code their personalities, and then we're able to customize that message even more to get the point across, which is so beautiful. And for those of you tuning in that aren't familiar with that, so the B.A.N.K approach, personality, communication methodology based in personality science. I feel like it never comes out unless I say it fast. But it's based on us customizing the way that we communicate based off of different personalities, right? So if you have someone who's about systems and processes, and that's what you speak to, right? And this is not about, to make this clear, this is not about manipulation at all. This is about being, emotionally intelligent and being in tune to people and understanding where they come from and what they're really saying versus us projecting ourselves and our methods and our communication onto them, right? So you have like the ability to make that much more of an impact, which is why this system is beautiful. So and you guys have been with us here for a while, so we've talked about the sales aspect of it in the beginning, but we've also brushed on the relationships, right? It's helped me and my son. It's helped Nasira and her husband, and then Everett understanding like some of the people in his corner. So I mean, it helps so much. Like if you've ever been in sales, you understand that relationships are like key to everything, and it's not just sales; it's in life. If you know how to speak to someone, if you know how to communicate with people, how to really truly connect with people, like you can go anywhere. You can do anything with that knowledge. And it's a matter of being able to just, to fully step into someone else's shoes and speak to them on their level.
Because I think that makes you more trustworthy. I mean,
right.
And it's all about confidence. It's all about, it's all about having confidence, confidence in what you're doing and instilling that confidence so people will trust you.
Right.
Exactly. And by being transparent and knowing, them knowing that, you're not going to try to take advantage of them or whatever, by being honest and open and transparent, that instills that kind of trust.
Exactly.
And that's certainly what the world needs now.
Right. So on that note, how are you implementing this into your business, Nasira? Like if you have any specifics as to like how you're going to be applying B.A.N.K?
Well, from the real estate side, so what I really learned is that I had one presentation, right? That I would go into a listing presentation and I would present the way I present. And what I've learned is that because there's 4 different personality types, and if you know who you're presenting to, then you create a presentation that talks to them, speaks to them directly in their language, in their style of what's the values that are most important to them. And so now I have 4 listing presentations because this is something that came up in the business intelligence, is how do you create this particular presentation for your business, right? So for me in real estate, and then in my coaching business, it's really helped me. So I have the avatar, but then it's how do you communicate to your avatar in the 4 different codes? And so that means that your marketing messages are different for the different codes, and you're attracting that person that marketing piece speaks to. So it's very, very direct and clear. So that's my biggest thing in terms of the marketing piece for the two businesses is to be able to connect to the people in the way they need to be connected to, so that that message resonates with them.
Right. And doesn't your conversations now, like with your clients, like aren't they on a much deeper level, right? You probably leave knowing like this person is going to list with me, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Versus before you'd be like, I don't know how that went. I'm not really sure. I guess I'll find out, on the follow-up. But you probably have a little bit more of a clear.
Well, I find them more tuning into me, right? Like they're leaning in. Like it's just that I've changed how I'm talking. I haven't changed, but so it's like they're leaning more in because it's really resonating. And yeah, I think the fact that they're saying yes faster is because I've changed that one piece. Big piece.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which totally makes sense because if the person is, all action and you go in talking about like the steps and systems that you're going to be putting into place in order to, list their property, and they've like tuned out before you even like began to speak about it. Right. Mm-hmm. Versus like, being able to speak like, this is what we're doing, this is how it's going to work. And this is where it's where, this is the outcome that we're going for. And then keeping it focused to what they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Everett, for you?
Yeah. So, health and wellness coaching was where I sort of got started in this. And I've also just recently, I'm about to complete a life coaching certification. So this, this essentially B.A.N.K, permeates all of that. I mean, it becomes part of, and I'm actually planning, signature type of offerings, featuring B.A.N.K coaching in addition to, and as a complement to my health, wellness, and life coaching. So it really fits in well. It really brings it all together nicely.
Yeah, I love it. And for me, I do a lot of marketing for clients. So using B.A.N.K in order to be able to customize their messages for each different client. I have a chart depending on what they're looking for. But then also being able to teach B.A.N.K as well so that they can incorporate their messages themselves, right? So understanding like how they want to portray that their marketing. So I could either give them the fish or I could teach them how to fish too. So, which I do love, which has been absolutely amazing, this whole thing. So what was your biggest aha moments in this entire program?
Oh boy.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna come back to that sort of the intellectual, the heart versus the mind. It's the difference between, needing to connect and needing to be right. As a high K, I need to be right in my mind, but I also want to feel connected. And so being able to reconcile those two has helped me immensely, and it's going to, moving forward, change the way I do things, recognizing that, being aware of that, and being much more conscious in the way that I interact with people.
Right. It's beautiful. I love it. Nasira, what was your biggest aha moment?
I think for me, in terms of going through, again, all of the 6 intelligences, it was like, it actually touched on every aspect of me so that I felt that I was showing up in the most authentic, most powerful way to make that impact, to make that difference, right? For me, that's really key, is to know that I'm walking away from somebody better, like I'm leaving them better than I found them, kind of thing, that whole idea of being there for them and creating that space for them to be the best version of themselves. And so that is where my aha moment was this program allows me to deliver exactly that, which I'm claiming that I want to be a part of, right? So that was just profound for me.
Right. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And how about you, Jules?
Mine was that biggest one was that I was not crazy in my ability to connect with people, that there was a reason for it. So understanding like the different personalities has definitely been a huge eye-opener for me. But in my own self-reflection, I have to say like the biggest aha moment was the business intelligence and looking at how terribly structured I had my business, and just not doing it and not building it in a scalable way. So now I've definitely restructured what I'm doing. And to also understand, you know what? And this is maybe my second aha moment. The second one is to realize that it's okay for things to change, right? Like we're not set in stone, that things are flexible and growth happens on a daily basis. You know, like I've already restructured. I haven't officially launched it. So the planning of my restructuring has changed immensely in the past month, right? As I'm more aware, as I'm more in tune and focusing on, okay, is this really going to work? Is this not going to work? After great conversations with great clients too, and people in general, just focusing on the ability to be flexible. And that, you know, the one decision that you make is not like your end all, that it's okay to grow and continue to grow. And it's a beautiful thing to go through.
Yeah, I think that the tools, the technology, and the approach, the underlying approach has given me, you know, confidence in terms of taking this on and being able to get the message out in a much more convincing way to be able to communicate that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. So when are you doing your first courses, Nasira? When are you starting to teach?
My masterclass is actually this Monday, and the course starts on the 23rd of July. So I've got people coming to a masterclass where I'm going to walk them through the whole, you know, why people buy, how to get more yeses, how to supercharge your sales, but also how to optimize yourself in terms of your communication and your relationships, so that you can have this whole effect of mind, body, soul. You know, these are things that I talk about in my program. So I'm excited. Monday can't come soon enough.
Yeah, that's right around the corner. I love it. And good luck with
good luck. Yeah, best wishes.
Very exciting. Everett and I will be starting August 3rd. A masterclass, that was a great idea to do like a little mini introduction and kind of give everybody like a brief overview. I do like that approach. So Everett, we'll have to talk about that.
We will, yeah.
And I'm happy to share, you know, after Monday in terms of some of the data that I get. And I think that's another beautiful thing, right? When you're in a group setting like this and you've got colleagues like us as partners, you know, we can share things with each other saying this really worked, or this really helped our client. And then, you know, you can actually use that stuff and implement it too. So I think this is where I'm really proud and happy to be part of a community like this, where it's like-minded individuals, you know, wanting to make a difference and support each other at the same time.
That's so true. Yeah. And everyone is so giving. And I do love that, because we have all shared so much information and ideas. And it's been like one giant like brainstorm session, which I absolutely love. So that's beautiful to know that we're, you know, continuously going to be doing that.
Yeah, to be encouraging each other and also holding each other accountable. You know, I've seen many sort of mastermind groups, you know, splinter off from people that have been, you know, working together in small groups. So it's a great thing, and it can only benefit those individuals and the individuals, you know, they serve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. We're wrapping up here to the end of the hour, so I don't want to keep you guys on for too long. But if you have any last words of advice for those of us, us, I've been here, for the people tuning in, not us tuning in, any words of advice to leave everyone with?
Go ahead, Everett.
Okay, no, just, you know, I think what we've summarized here is a formula for being the change that you want to see in the world.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is what that says right there.
This is the formula. I mean, this is what we all need to know and understand, appreciate, and apply. All that's what it is. It's about being a better human being, helping other human beings being better human beings as well. So to me, that's the most valuable takeaway of the whole experience, and one that I will continue fostering and emphasizing in what I do. So I think it's been very valuable. It's been very emotionally, you know, very moving for me, and also as I mentioned many times, confidence building in terms of my ability to deliver this now, and in no uncertain terms, in a very specific language, with a very, you know, definite approach that helps, you know, people, overcome the obstacles that they're facing.
Yeah. I love that. That's going to be hard to follow. That was beautiful and like perfectly said.
It's world peace. It's world peace, baby.
Yeah. That is so true. Nasira, words of wisdom.
I just think that, with people that kind of are in a place of growth, or they want to learn something or know something, if fear is holding them back, like this is the one time, where you have the opportunity. Opportunity comes to us at certain points in our life, and it's our chance to take it. I think this is about pushing past that fear, because the success and the life that we are dreaming of just is on the other side of fear. And so my advice, or my words of wisdom would be, just step past that fear, step in, lean into people that have taken the journey, that can guide you, hold your hand and walk you through it, because there's a lot to be had just on the other side of fear. So I hope that people will take that power back in themselves and just join in, and let's make world peace, right? So.
Yes.
Amen.
One world,
Amen.
one language. I love it. And I'll say my last piece of advice for anyone still with us here is that, there's a quote that keeps circling in my space that says, you can't fix a problem with the same mindset you created it in, right? So if you feel stuck, if your relationships aren't working out, if I don't know, if there's friction in your life and you're just unhappy, like you have to take this step to make that change, right? And it's so possible. And a lot of times it doesn't take much for you to realize what it is that you need to do to get out of that space, but you can't fix it. You can't change it from that space that you're in. So definitely find that this program has done all of that and then some, because it's explored all sides of all of us. Very deeply and allowed us to face some brutal truths, but we've all come out better on the other side because of it. And our connection to ourselves and to those around us has just grown exponentially. And it's a beautiful thing to do.
You're here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm sorry we lost Yvonne. Hopefully we'll get her back on next week, but this has been an amazing conversation about our lovely coaching program. And anyone that has any questions, like, you guys could type them in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, type it in the comments. If you want to ask Nasira or Everett anything, you can tag them. If not, I'll make sure they get the comments. So definitely stay tuned. We'll be back next week, and we're going to keep talking about this until you guys join us in the learning journey.
Yeah.
In the meantime, happy 4th of July to our American friends.
Yes, happy 4th of July.
Thank you. So all of you, take care. Happy 4th of July.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.